Ladies and gentle gamers, welcome back to Be Determined. Today we're going to go over the Combat Island bestiaries, including the Spider's Den, the End, and the Crimson Isle. So if you guys enjoy or learn something, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's jump into it. Alright, so the Spider's Den bestiary has 12 different families, which isn't too crazy considering it's a combat island, but there are mostly spider bestiaries here. Now we've got the Weaver Spider, the Voracious Spider, Splitter Spider, Spider Jockey, all of the Arachne stuff, the Brood Mother, Dasher Spider. So Dasher Spider, Weaver Spider, all these regular just spider mobs, you can find all of them either here on the den or down in the caves below the island. So you can kind of just warp around and kill these. It's mostly voracious spiders down here, but you can see there's a decent amount of splitters, the occasional weaver. The main thing you'll have trouble maxing down here is going to be spider jockeys. There are very few spider jockey spawns, but that's kind of the same case for the nest as well. The nest has more for sure, but it's still not many. You kind of gotta learn where to find them. So the higher up spots are going to have them more. There's a few spawns up here at top, a couple spawns on the ledges down below, and a couple spawns even further down, but there are not many. They're mainly out here on the outer edges of the nest, but that is definitely the one that will be the hardest to max. You only need 4,000 compared to the 10,000 of all the other ones, but it still takes a while. As far as silverfish, you'll get these pretty easily because you need 10,000 splitter spiders to max, and every splitter spider spawns 2 silverfish. So if you kill the silverfish after the splitter spiders, you should max that out when you're about halfway through these. Now the gravel skeletons are also super duper easy. They spawn super quickly. They're back in this section. As far as loadouts, as usual, if you have a Spirit Scepter, that's good. If you have a Hype, that's better. But all the mobs here take magic damage except for Arachne. And Arachne has like a damage cap, so even if you're left clicking with your mage weapon, then you'll probably hit that cap. But the gravel skeletons, pretty easy. You can see they spawn super quickly, so you can just kind of run through this route here, just going around in circles and then going back up to the front here, coming back, just continue this route over and over again. Now rain slimes will only spawn when it's raining. It does rain every hour for 20 minutes, and on occasion it will be a thunderstorm. The thunderstorms make more money because that spawns in the toxic rain slimes right here. I have a chance to drop poison samples, but those are usually extremely contested. You'll probably find some level 300 players out here getting this on their Iron Man even. So killing toxic rain slimes can be a bit of a pain, but if it's just a regular rainstorm, you'll notice on the side of your day here, it will have either just like little raindrops and an umbrella, I believe, or it'll have a lightning storm. So if it's the lightning symbol, that means it's a thunderstorm. But if it's just rain, then you'll probably not have too much trouble maxing that bestiary. There's only 1,000, and they will spawn like along this section here, and a few of them will be over here. Using a short bow would be ideal, just shooting here or shooting over here. A lot of people will use Bonzo Staff as well because you can stand right here and shoot either direction before they spawn. And by the time your Bonzo balloons get to where they're at, they will have spawned. So that is a strategy that works pretty well as well. Now for the Brood Mother, you can see in tab, there is a section here at the top under the server info where you can see when the Brood Mother is going to spawn. So it will say either she's alive if she has spawned, it will say slain if she's been killed recently, and then there's another one that it says, and then it says soon when she's about to spawn. So if you have the /warp nest, if you're MVP plus, you can use it. If not, I recommend just warping to the hub, warping back to the spider's den, check and see she's dormant. That's the one where if she was killed somewhat recently. But if it's that one or slain, then you warp out, and then you can try warping back until you just find a lobby where it's either soon or she's alive. And there's another one when she's very close to spawning, the imminent one right here. So if that's the case, you definitely want to stick around for that. So the imminent or alive ones are the kind of the ones that you want to stick around for. But for her bestiary, you do need a decent amount of kills. It's 400 kills, which does take a bit of time, but going for max bestiary, it's worth it. She will drop this spider talisman as well, which you can sell for a little bit. Currently go for about 60,000 coins, looks like, so it is a bit of money, but nothing too ridiculous. Now for the last ones, the Arachnes. There are 3 different types of mobs in the Arachne family sort. So you've got Arachne's Keepers, Arachne's Brood, and Arachne. The Arachne's Brood, you'll max pretty easily on your road to maxing Arachne, but the Arachne's Keepers can be a little bit frustrating to get. There are 9 specific spawn points throughout the spider's den. One of them is right here, so you can see. You can spawn and kill a couple of them there. And they do drop these Arachne's Callings, which we'll talk about here in a moment. There's a couple spawns there. There's another spawn right here in this area. There's another spawn right here. And then there's like 4 spawns in this area here where Arachne spawns at. I believe there's one up here, a couple down on ground level, and one up here. Maybe one up here as well. But there are a very good amount of spawns. There's another spawn back right here in this section. So you kind of just rotate between all those if you're wanting to max that out. But you will drop a decent amount of Arachne's Callings, which you can use to spawn Arachne. Now, Arachne will spawn a certain amount of Arachne's Broods per fight, so you want to get as much damage on those as you can if you're trying to max that Bestiary. So just like this, you see the first round, I think she spawns 10, and once she gets to the second phase, I think it's 20. You can see I'm using a Hyperion. I'm only doing 2,000 damage, but that's the limit, so it is fine to use your mage weapon as left click during this if you have a decent amount of damage. But there are 2 different types of spawns that you can do for Arachne. So there is the tier 1 and the tier 2. So the tier 1 is the one they're spawning right now. You use 4 regular Callings to spawn it. The tier 2, you use Arachne's Crystals. So the tier 1 will definitely get your Bestiary done faster. But if you're wanting to make a decent amount of money, the tier 2 actually makes a good amount. So if I take these Arachne's Callings and I spawn in an Arachne, it costs about 6 or 4,000 coins, depends on the market, to buy those 4 Callings if you want to. Or if you're going for the Keeper Bestiary, then you should be getting those as you kill those. But it's pretty cheap to spawn in Arachne either way. But for tier 1, it is super duper cheap. And we made a decent amount of money. So we spent 4,000 coins and made 45,000 coins. You see, it did not take us long to get through that at all. We go up here to Shaggy. He will tell us to make a crystal, you need 8 enchanted spider eyes and 30 enchanted string. So if we take all those materials and talk to him, he will craft them into a crystal. So the crystals currently go for about 28,000 coins on the auction house. That is if you straight up buy them. But if you look up Arachne's fragments, you can see these go for about 20,000 a piece. So 60,000 in Arachne's fragments, 10,000 in spider's eyes, makes 70,000 plus 70,000 in this. So it costs about 140,000 if you craft them yourself. And then if we go down here and actually place it, you'll see how much money we make. The boss fight does take longer at tier 2, but again, the amount of money we're going to make from this is pretty nice. The other fight, we made 40,000 coins about. Let's see how much we make from this one. All right, so from placing that, we made 215,000. So that's 75,000 plus this is 80,000 plus all these gloves are soulbound. So if you drop a legendary pet off of those, it doesn't happen super often, but it does help out a little bit more. But just from that fight, those are the normal drops that you'll get. We made 80,000 coins, which is twice as much as we made from the tier 1. But you actually make a lot more just from leeching these, because I'll make like 200,000 coins because this guy placed it, and I'll still leech a decent amount of soul string off of it. But the tier 1s, you can make a decent amount of money as well if you get lucky. You can drop an Arachne's Fang, which currently goes for about 300,000 coins. It is part of a talisman craft, so people will always need to buy it. With these ones, you can drop the legendary tarantula pet a little bit more commonly than with the tier 1s, but those go for less than Arachne's Fangs actually. So if you want to get fast Bestiary and still make a decent amount, it won't be guaranteed that you'll make more, but it is nice to be able to do the tier 1s. But you see, we just leeched off a tier 2 and we made 150,000 coins, which is more than we made from spawning our own. So if you can find a lobby or you have friends who are placing and you need some money, then it's not terrible to leech. Of course, you're not going to be making as much as like dropping a judgment core or something like that, but it's still a bit of money. All right, I believe that is everything in this section. So let's move on to the end. So the end has even less families. There's only 9 families in the end, but they take a lot of kills to max. Dragons are going to be the one that will probably take the longest. You need 1,000 dragon kills That doesn't mean you have to spawn 1,000 dragons, but you have to at least leech 1,000 dragon fights. So whenever you see a dragon spawning, if you have MVP plus, it's a good idea to get the travel skull to the dragon's nest. Right here, it's about 1,000,000 coins right now. It does drop off of unstable dragons. And the other boss bestiary in the end, the Endstone Protector, it takes half the kills to do, but you can't like place summoning eyes to get this one to spawn. You have to actually wait for it to spawn. But for the other bestiaries, there's Endermen, Endermites, Obby Defenders, Voidling Extremists, Voidling Fanatics, Zealots, and Watchers. So the Endermen will spawn back here in the main area, and so can Endermites, but there's some pretty cool tricks you can do with Endermite bestiary. However, with the Enderman, what I recommend is if you haven't gotten into Enderman Slayer yet, I would get your hands on some Final Destination armor and just run around here with the Final Destination armor on with a Spirit Scepter and just kill these 9k health Endermen. If you're on Iron Man, I would salvage the pieces for your Dragon Essence. If not, it doesn't matter too much. You can just sell them to NPC, but you need 25,000 of these kills. So that helps out a lot with Ender Slayer later on if you have 25,000 kill Final Destination, or if you don't end up using it, then you can sell it for a decent amount. But of course, killing Enderman, you can spawn the Voidling Seraphs. So killing these guys, I don't recommend spawning a tier 4 in this area, but you can handle like a tier 1 or a tier 2. It's not bad to be killing those as you're going along. Doesn't take too much time out of the way. I didn't mention it earlier with the tarantulas, but yeah, killing the spiders in the spider's den, you can also spawn your tarantula slayers doing that. So I recommend not grinding out these bestiaries until you're going for your slayers, because you'll end up with more kills than you need most likely. But yeah, the Endermen are pretty simple. Again, I do recommend killing down here these 9,000 health ones. If you kill the 6,000 health ones or the 3,000 health ones, 4,500 health, not 3,000. But anyways, it's not terrible if you're killing those, but you can see these guys have lower pet rarity drops. If you kill the 9,000 health, then you have a chance to drop a legendary Enderman, which is 46 million coins right now. So it's not super high drop rates, but there are a good amount of Enderman spawns down here anyways. So if you can one-shot them, I recommend doing it down here. Now for Endermites, there is a pretty specific strategy. You want some kind of mining tool that is not a stonk. Stonks will not spawn Endermites when you mine, but you want to run mineral armor and just run around here doing this over and over again. Just run in a little circle here, kill all of them at once. Once you've got a decent amount, just run like this. We've got a decent amount of Endermites. Kill them all, and then reset. Now, Obby Defenders, Watchers, and Zealots, you can kind of be working on all of these at the same time. Again, same as always, Spirit Scepter, if you don't have a hype, is kind of the strategy. But there are some specific areas that these spawn at. So Obby Defenders will spawn up here in this section, over here on this left side as well, and back towards the back in this area. And then they've got some more spawns over on the right side. There's 2 right here and 2 right here. So there's not a ton of Obby Defender spawns, so you kind of want to prioritize those as you're going. But you really want to prioritize Zealots as well, to be honest, because Zealots, they have the highest amount of kills that you'll need on this island. 25,000 is quite a lot, so you want to focus on those. Watchers spawn in this back section here as well. There's a couple spawns up here and right here, some on the front here, and some in the back on the other side as well. Again, you need 10,000 Watchers, 10,000 Obby Defenders, and 25,000 Zealots, so mainly focus on getting those Zealots. Now, if you end up maxing the Obby Defenders and the Watchers before you max the Zealots, then you can run into the Zealot Bruiser hideout here and focus solely on these. But if that happens, again, I do recommend doing some Voidling Seraphs as you're going. Get through your Ender Slayer a little bit. And again, wearing Final Destination as you're going for the Enderman kills. Zealots will count towards those kills, regular Zealots and Zealot Bruisers. So increasing your kills on that armor is pretty nice. Now that leaves 2 more. The other one that requires 25,000 kills, Voidling Fanatics, and the Voidling Extremists, which only require 4,000. But these guys, you're definitely going to need to be pretty adept at Enderman Slayer to be able to handle. Generally, you're going to want to use a katana to get through these guys. You can one-shot these with an Atom Split pretty easily. And again, I recommend doing these while you're doing Ender Slayer. But the Extremists do have a few specific spawns. The Voidling Fanatics will spawn all throughout this section. This is the Void Sepulchre that we're in. So the Voidling Extremist spawns here in this first room, and then he'll spawn over in this area right here as well. There's one spawn here. There's another spawn up over to the left right here. So he'll spawn in this area by this altar. Then there's another one right above it over here. There's one. And then there's the last one all the way at the top right here. So you need 4,000 of those kills. I would mainly focus on doing those as you're routing through. A lot of people will just sit on one layer, which that works as well, because you do need like 6 times as many Voidling Fanatic kills. So if you're killing 6 Fanatics and then you come back to the Extremist and kill that, you'll be looking pretty good on your Bestiary, pretty even. But I did not focus Extremist, and you can see I am 56% of the way through Extremist, and I'm almost done with Fanatics. So I'm going to have to spend a lot of time warping between Extremist spawns. So if you want to avoid that, make sure to focus those. Alright, that's everything in the end. Let's warp to the last section, the Crimson Isle. Now, the Crimson Isle is the toughest combat island. Even the lowest health mobs here have 300,000 health. So I highly recommend having a decent mage setup. So at the very least, you'll want like a Midas Staff or something like that. Yeti Sword. Hyperion is highly recommended for this section. All of these mobs here have way too much health. They really do. It's kind of ridiculous, but it wouldn't be an in-game island any other way. So first we're going to go over the boss spawns. There are 5 different bosses on this island. So right when you warp to the Isle, you'll walk forward, and to the right here there is Blade Soul. So with these bosses, I recommend having a party. It is very important, makes them a lot easier. And there's kind of 3 that you'll want to warp between with at least 1 or 2 other party members. Again, I recommend they also have a hype as well, but that is Blade Soul there. Then you'll want to go over to the Mage Outlaw, which is back in this section here, right here, and then the Barbarian Duke, which is over on the Barbarian side over here, right here. Now these guys have pretty good loot pools. Main thing is you'll make a good amount of money killing the Barb Duke, because they drop these leather cloths right here, which you can use to make Gauntlets of Contagion, which go for a decent amount. They drop 1 per fight, so you have to kill 36 of these before you can make this. But again, that is like 10 million coins profit. So you'll kill Blade Soul, kill the Mage Outlaw, and then kill this guy, and then warp back to Blade Soul and start killing him again. And that's kind of the main strategy. The other 2 bosses are Ash Fang and the Magma boss. So the Magma boss right here, you'll want to have a party for this as well, but not in a mage setup. Maybe 1 person in a mage setup, because there are a few phases of this guy that you have to get through. But mainly you'll want 1 guy in a mage setup, the rest in an archer setup using Terminators or Jujus, either way. And you're just going to spam damage down on this guy. You need 1,000 kills on every single one of these bosses, so it does take a pretty good amount of time. That's the strat for mage and for the Magma boss. So after you kill him, you'll just warp to a new lobby and do the same thing again. But to make sure that you don't hit the limit, make sure whenever you're killing Magma boss and Ash Fang, when you warp between lobbies, after you've killed the same boss 4 times in a row, you need to make sure you kill another boss. So usually the Mage Outlaw or Blade Soul will be the ones that you'll focus on. But if you've killed the same boss 5 times in a row, the 5th time you will not get the loot for it. So highly recommend keeping an eye on that. You will get a message whenever you've killed the boss 4 times in a row that will tell you the next boss you kill, you'll not get loot if it's the same boss. So make sure to keep an eye on that. Now for Ash Fang, there are some strategies. You do need a party for this. You'll need a few people on Mage Reforges and a few people on Berserker Reforges. Now I've done this solo and I've done it with 2 to 3 people in the party. It is way faster with 2 to 3 people, but Ash Fang is pretty difficult, I won't lie. So after you damage him, he'll shoot out 3 different types of mobs. So there's Acolytes, there are Underlings, and there's Followers. So the Followers will follow you, gasp, but they don't really, you can't deal damage to them. That's a pain. So just like this right here, you want to get them to follow you into these little tunnels here, which if you stand too close to those gravity wells, then I'm not even touching my keyboard right now. I'm going into it. You got to make sure you don't go into it because it will nuke you. You will die almost instantly. But you got to make sure the Followers get in there because that's how you kill them. But these blue ones, you cannot damage with range damage. The red ones, you have to damage with range damage. So either an archer setup or a mage setup, the blue ones you have to damage with melee. So that's what you need the melee for. The mages will focus on these red guys here. Just nuke the red guys, shoot the eyeball at Ashfang, and repeat. But you'll need some berserkers over on the followers there, making sure that they aren't causing any problems. Because if I get this follower too close to me, I can't use my abilities. I am too cold to use abilities. So followers are too close to you, you'll get too cold, can't use abilities. So you want to make sure that doesn't happen. So you'll have one or two burzes, one focusing on the Ashfang followers, another focusing on the acolytes here, and then you just shoot the eyeballs right back at Ashfang. So for the eyeballs, you don't have to directly hit them, because I can be not looking at the eyeball, but I'm looking at Ashfang. When I click, eyeball will go straight into Ashfang. I've seen some people have some issues with this, so just make sure you aren't missing your shots on Ashfang, because that will make the fight go way slower. But after you've killed Ashfang, warp to a new lobby and repeat. These guys drop lumino fibers, which you can use to make fire veil wands, which make a ton of money. You only have to kill 10 Ashfangs for that to happen, so it's going to be a bit faster than Barb Duke generally. You can make a ton of money per hour this way. But again, just like all the other bosses, it does take 1,000 kills to max, so Ashfang Bestiary is probably the most tedious Bestiary on this island. It is such a pain to max, but it has to be done. Now we're going to focus on the other mobs throughout the island, so we'll go in the order that they appear. First off, after the bosses, we have blazes. So the blazes spawn in a few specific rooms throughout the fortress here, so there's one here on the left. You can kill the blazes in here. That counts towards that bestiary. Then there is one up top above these stairs right here. These guys count towards that as well. And if you're killing these guys, I do recommend, if you plan to do Blaze Slayer with a Droplet Wisp, that is a good thing to do, is killing these guys with that. But right here to the entrance of Blade Soul, you can go to the left up these stairs right here. All the way up here, after you go up 3 flights of stairs to the left, there is a blaze room right here. You can use these to spawn in your early blaze bosses if you're not strong enough to handle the smoldering blazes, which we'll get to shortly. Those guys are a bit of a pain to kill if you don't have a good setup. But if you don't have a setup to kill those guys yet either, and you just want to get a couple blaze kills a little bit faster, you go back to the smoldering tomb here. There is a guy right here that you can buy a Moody grapple shot from. So Moody grapple shot throws a hook to grab and pull blazes, and you can deal double damage to these when you use the grapple shot on them. So I'll show you how it works real quick. Take a Moody grapple shot, take whatever dagger you're using to kill the blazes, pull the blaze to you, and then you can just deal a ton of damage right there. So it takes half the time for me to kill this blaze when I'm using this versus if I didn't use it. So right here I'm dealing 800, 700,000 damage, depends. But if we don't use it, I'm only doing like 400,000 damage. So it takes way longer. Plus they're flying, which makes it super annoying. If you use the grapple shot, then they don't fly. They're just stuck here. So that helps out a lot. But again, you'll mainly want to focus these guys if you're doing Blaze Slayer. And these kills will count towards your Droplet Wisp if you have it equipped. That helps out a lot with true defense. It's very good early on. Later on, you'll want like a G-Drag pet or something for your tier 4s if you get into that. But that's super late game stuff. There are a few other mobs that you can get down here called Millennia Aged Blazes. They have a few specific spawns as well. They have a lot more health, and their drops are used for a talisman. So there's Millennia Aged Blaze right here in this section. Voila. There's another one down low in here, right there, behind the altar. And then another one over in this section between these altars. Another one at this section. And finally, another one back over in this area right here. So there's about 5 spawns, I believe that was, that you can get on those. And you'll need a decent amount of kills on Millennia Age Blazes as well. You need 4,000 total Millennia Age Blaze kills. They do have 30 million health, so they take a little bit of getting used to. But if you get 10 stacked on your Crimson Armor, that helps out a lot. Next up, we've got Flaming Spiders. So if you didn't max out your Tarantula Bestiary or your Tarantula Slayer while doing all the Spiders Den Bestiary, these guys are a valid option as well. If I run my mage setup, we'll spawn in a Tarantula Slayer real quick. Boom, 1 Tarantula tier 4. We can just run around here, kill a couple of these. It only takes 8 kills to spawn in the Slayer on these guys. So the Slayer spawned, kill it, and then you can go on to the next one. And you can see the magma cube riders are in this area as well, so you'll be getting those as you're going along. Again, definitely want to hype for these. Midas staff might do the trick, but hype will be way faster. You'll need 10,000 kills on these, so a decent amount of intelligence is recommended as well. An Aurora setup would be nice for a lot of this stuff as well, but Storm works. Now, Ghats are a bit of a pain. They will only spawn at night. They'll spawn back here in this section close to Ashfang. So honestly, a hype is pretty nice for killing those as well, but a Terminator works. Just depends. They sometimes fly like literally super high above the build limit even. So you can see there's a certain section where I can't teleport past. There are invisible blocks in the way. So if you have to, then teleporting all the way up and then using a Terminator to kill them is an option, or a Juju, whatever your setup is. But they've only got 100,000 health, so those are some of the lowest health mobs on this island. Then there's flares. You need 100,000 flares to max that bestiary. So you can see right now I have 270 flare kills. We go up and kill this one, even though it's 3 mobs, it counts as 1 kill. So you gotta make sure with these guys that you don't die. Honestly, they deal a ton of damage. If I just stand here and let him shoot me, just watch my health. It goes from full down to like 60%, down to less than 25%. So they deal a ton of damage. They have 5 million health, but these guys are the best guys to try and spawn your Vanquishers, which is another bestiary here. You need 1,000 of those, but you use the drops from Vanquishers to get keys for Kudras. So if you are key grinding other than doing your boss kills to get the higher level keys like Infernal, Fiery, Burning, those, this is the best strategy, is to just warp around in a circle and just kill these guys. Now, of course, you're going to want a setup where you can be one-shotting them or two-shotting them, but one-shotting would be ideal. So generally, people run a full Aurora set. Sometimes they run Blaze, sometimes they run Sheep. Just depends on the setup. But even if I swap my attributes over to Intelligence, I'm still not one-shotting. I'm still just barely two-shotting. Now, you don't have to deal 5 million straight-up damage because you can see I'm doing 1 million damage to the individual blazes, and it counts for the whole thing's health, so they take 3x damage. If I hit him right there, I hit him once, but he's down to 92,000 health because I hit all 3 of the flares. So it's not as difficult to one-shot those guys as it sounds, but it's still a bit of a pain. All right, next up are the Catan Knites. These guys are not too difficult, so there's a few areas that they're in. If you go back here to Ashfang, you can see this is the Kudra skull. You go back down over to this entrance here and then go to the right. You'll see there's a couple mobs, so there's magma cube packs here that you can kill. These guys count towards magma cube bestiary. Right here you can kill these guys or the magma cubes that are out front, but these ones are definitely easier. And then in this section you can see we've got the Catan Knites, which their drops are used for making the nether sacks. So right here, my nether sack, you can use these to make this, which is very useful. So getting these kills early on is pretty nice. A couple more sections they spawn at right back here in this area over here as well. You can see this entrance I'm at is right next to the Barb Duke section. And then there is another entrance up front. Right here you can see where these regular magma cubes are. They have the same bestiary as the pack magma cubes, but pack magma cubes have a lot more spawns, so I recommend those. But this is the other section that those will spawn at and that the Catan Knites will spawn at. So you can kind of get all of these kills together at the same time and be spawning some Vanquishers along the way as well. Machos will only spawn from explosions in the volcano. So when the volcano erupts, it will spawn a decent amount of Machos throughout the map. So you can kind of look around and see if there's any sulfur blocks around the map. If there's no sulfur blocks around the map, then the volcano probably hasn't erupted yet, so you should warp to a new lobby and try to find them. But the Machos will be in plenty of places on the island. They get thrown everywhere, so they'll be up on this section a lot of times throughout this area here with all the mushroom cows and stuff, and there will be a bunch of them around the volcano. So some of them will be up top here, some of them will be on the lower areas, but you only need like 400 of those kills. So it doesn't take a ridiculous amount of time. You just gotta get lucky with your lobbies. But make sure whenever the volcano erupts, keep tabs on that. You can see right there at the bottom of the tab list, volcano explosivity. Just keep an eye out for whenever that starts, because that's when the machos will start appearing. Since we're in this area already, let's go ahead and talk about the mushroom bulls or mushroom bulls. These guys have 1,000,000 health, so they can be a bit of a pain to get to where you can one-shot them. These guys aren't terrible for spawning Venks either. Again, magic setup is the GOAT on this island. If you're not using a magic setup for killing these regular mobs, then you're doing it super inefficiently. I really don't recommend trying to max these bestiaries until you've gotten a hype. It's just so much faster, so much easier. But yeah, these guys spawn all throughout this area here in front of the mage section. Now let's talk about the last couple. So there are pigmen here, which this bestiary just got added recently. I do not have it unlocked. I know a lot of other people that don't have it unlocked. I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to do this one. The running theory right now was that this bestiary is from before the Crimson Isle was made, like back when it was the Blazing Fortress. There were pigmen that ran around then, but nothing has been confirmed. There are some people who have their profiles made after that island was revamped into what it is now that have the bestiary, but I'm not one of those people. I'm not sure how you're supposed to get this, and I don't know anyone else that is, so hopefully this gets added in the future. They have been talking about a Crimson Isle revamp, so perhaps this is part of that. At the moment, we don't know how to get this. So let's move on to tentacles. You need 1,000 tentacle kills. So this is one of the lower level bestiaries as well. These guys have one specific spawn by the matriarch. So if we warp over to where the matriarch is, you can see these are the hell wisps, which are also known as the tentacles. So my bestiary for tentacles is currently 94. If we go over and kill this guy right here, there we are. They're a little bit of a pain, but that's 95 kills. So these guys are the tentacles. These guys pretty much have to be killed with a magic setup. You can deal damage with a different ranged weapon if you want to, but the magic setup is, of course, still the GOAT. Got to make sure you get in range of the center of them. If you're too far away, then you're not dealing damage. You got to get pretty close to be able to deal some damage. But they have 2.5 million health, so it's going to be pretty difficult to one-shot them. But two-shotting isn't too difficult to do at all. Anyways, that's those. Next up, so the Wither Skeletons and the Wither Specters. Wither Skeletons, you only need 3,000 kills for, so they don't take too long. Specters, you need 10,000. But there's a decent amount of spawns on those, so those are also some of the easier ones to max, but they are in the Blazing Fortress here. So the Wither Skeletons will only spawn on the outside section here, so they're on this bridge area. They're down below on this bridge area here as well, and then there's some over on the top bridge area here. So you kind of just warp between all of these to get these kills. And then Wither Specters, there's, I believe, only the one room where they spawn back next to this bridge area. The Wither Specters are right here, and they've got this room down here with all the nether wart and this room up here, and that's their only two spawns as far as I'm aware. But a lot of people will use these for their necromancy stuff, so with summoning rings, reprecise, that type of thing. Use these for your Enderman Slayers if you're using summons to get through hits phase. A lot of people will use these if they're not using T3 or M3 tank zombies, sorry. But they only have 300,000 health, so if you don't have a magic setup yet, but you're trying to get a couple Vanquisher kills, then these are going to be some of the easier ones to one-shot. Even with just a Gauntlet of Contagion and a melee setup, you can do pretty good with those. But another thing to make sure you max that Vank Bestiary, Vanquishers, you need 1,000 kills. Even doing all of this Bestiary, maxing everything on this island, odds are you're not going to get 1,000 Vanquisher spawns. So make sure whenever someone shouts out a location where a Vink is at to go and assist. And whenever you spawn one, make sure to let people know where it's at as well, so that they can get their bestiary and so that they can get their Kudra loot. Those keys are important. But that is all of the combat bestiaries on the combat islands. So we do still have a few sections to go over. I think I'm going to save Kudra and dungeons for one video. We'll save fishing bestiary for one video. And then we'll wrap everything else up. The Foraging Islands, Diana Bestiary, Spooky Bestiary, all that'll be in a different video as well. So let me know which one you guys want in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have an amazing day, and God bless.